Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Tamara Beckford Show. Yes, I am Dr. Tamara Beckford, and I have the distinct privilege of bringing on one of my sister doc, Dr. Cindy Tsai. So you know how it is here. We have wonderful doctors, and I have the honor and privilege of highlighting all these wonderful docs for all the amazing things that they're doing inside and outside of clinical medicine. Yes. So, before we get into the show, I know that you've seen all these wonderful interviews that we have done. If you haven't, yes, you can find them right on our website. So just go to yourcaringdocs.com. That's URCARING, select podcast, and you'll see all the pictures of all these wonderful doctors. Click on the one that you'd love to listen to. And then if you do have an Apple device, do not forget to leave us a review and let us know which one of these interviews you love the best. There are tons. There are over 100 interviews right there on one website. Yes. So if you are a doctor and you're like, you know what, I'm doing amazing things too, I want to be highlighted. Hey, we have you. So just send me an email to drbeckford@yourcaringdocs.com and we will send you a schedule to book. Now, do keep in mind, we have been booked out 3 months in advance since November of 2021. So do not hesitate to think about, when are you dropping that book? When are you opening up that clinic? When do you want others to know all about you, and time it so that we can get you on the show? All righty. So today, I have the distinct honor of bringing on this wonderful doc who is a graduate of the Geisel School of Medicine at Dartmouth, right? And she did her residency in internal medicine in San Francisco. She's also a clinical fellow in the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. She is the best-selling author of the book So Much Better. That's the name of her book. Yes, you did hear me trying to sing. That's right. There it is. So Much Better is the name of her wonderful book. Now, it's a transformative self help book that offers research based processes to help high achievers. Hello, I'm talking to you. High achievers fulfill their dreams. She's also the founder of the Cindy Tsai MD Coaching, where she coaches high achievers to decrease stress, avoid burnout, and become inspiring stories of success. Welcome, Dr. Cindy Tsai.
Thank you so much. It's so
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking the time to come on this wonderful show. Now, hi Heather. Thank you. Heather is saying hello. All righty. So, we're all excited, and I know we're going to try to get to everything today, but I have to start at the beginning, Dr. Tsai. Alrighty, so when did Dr. Tsai, moving backwards to just Cindy, say, you know what, I want to be a doctor and I want to go into medicine? Tell us, when did you think about this? When did it become a thought and you're like, I'm going to work towards this?
Well, I actually have wanted to be a physician for a very long time, ever since I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was a surgeon, and I was exposed to medicine from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always been very health conscious ever since I was a kid. Like, I would opt for drinking water instead of juice and all these things. And so I just was very fascinated by the human body and wellness, and I wanted to help people. So I thought being a doctor was a great way to do this. So I was always very focused on going through my medical training, like working very hard. I didn't take any time off.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm grateful to have gone through this journey and to be able to serve in this way.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so your inception into medicine really started with being around family. So your dad, you said, was a doctor, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna help people. I'm a healthy person. I love doing healthy things. So why not go into this process of, being a doctor? So now you have gone through the whole school training, and we're in medical school, and we decide to go into internal medicine. So there's so many other facets of medicine out there, right? We have the surgery, OBGYN, and, pediatrics, but you decided to do internal medicine. So what made you go into internal medicine initially?
Yeah, well, I really liked how internal medicine was this really broad umbrella with so many options.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was considering possibly specializing in, one of the other subspecialties in medicine. And so I was like, okay, well, let me start with internal medicine and just get a sense of everything and really become familiar with adult medicine and practice. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what prompted my decision.
I love it. Alrighty. So now we are internal medicine, and you said that, you are someone who was just going, going, going. You didn't take any time off. You were just going. Now, most of us who just go, 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 we hit a wall and there we're sliding down. So tell us, did that happen to you?
Yes, it did. I got
Mhm.
sick. I actually had an autoimmune uveitis impacting my eyes. So it's
Oh, man.
of my eyes, and this could have led to full vision loss. And so it was really a wake up call for me
Mhm.
to really look at what I was doing, what was really important to me. And it really prompted me to look into integrative medicine and to
Mhm.
really looking at the whole picture and
Right.
taking, kind of the best of both worlds in terms of like Western medicine, but also some
Mhm.
of the complementary alternative therapies, and to just see like, hey, all these different ways to heal and feel better. And
Mhm.
it really started my interest in really wanting to look at the root cause and to offer healing on a deeper level.
Oh, that is must have been like so scary. At what point did you start having the signs of the uveitis? And like, what are some of the things that you noticed? What was going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, it was really fast. I will
Mm,
never forget. I just woke up and
right.
like everything was blurry, and it
Wow.
was terrifying because as a
Absolutely.
physician, you're like, what? Like, am I having a stroke? Is this multiple sclerosis? Like all the
Yes,
neurological
absolutely.
shit in your mind. And then I went to the optometrist and found out my prescription had deepened 3 times overnight.
Overnight.
Yeah, and I wear glasses and contacts, and I'm like, what's wrong? And they couldn't tell me. They were like, go see your doctor. And look, I went to an ophthalmologist, got some labs, and it was just like waiting, like nobody could tell you.
So
And I
all the time you were still like
yeah,
having
like
this
my
blur.
eyes were totally blurry, couldn't see. It felt like there was a veil come like just over my eyes. It was terrifying.
Absolutely.
And I think, I think having been a patient, it really
Mhm.
offers you so much perspective,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
As a physician, you're kind of like, oh, you really, really need to listen and be present with your patients. And I think one of the things that I'm always mindful of when seeing patients is not saying things like, oh, this is so interesting.
I know, because you're like, I don't want to be the interesting patient. Like, whoa, whoa. What do you mean this
Exactly.
is interesting?
And
This
it's
is
like,
not something that happens often.
exactly, because interesting is code for like, I have no idea what's going on, right? Like, and a few days later, I actually started to have pain in my eyes, and
Ooh.
then ran some more tests and saw fluid coming out my eyes and all things, and were able to find this diagnosis that was like this very rare autoimmune, like 1 in a million type of thing.
Yeah.
So I started steroids, immunosuppressants, and all these things. And, I wanted to get better.
Absolutely.
And thankfully, these meds are very powerful, right? And they work quickly. But I
Hmm.
also really wanted to understand, like, why was this going on?
Hmm.
How do I heal and hopefully not have to take these medications? And,
Right.
so that's why I really encourage people to take this integrative approach and to know that there are so many options out there to heal.
I love it. I love it. I love the lessons from this very scary, issue. And I can attest to your day and night. Like, something, mine wasn't the vision. Mine was just my heart rate was just like, I'm on training and all of a sudden my heart rate's 120. Like, why is this 120? Like, what's going on? And same thing, autoimmune issue, boom, so your life can change so much. And it's to be able to take the lessons from that. So your lesson was really, boom, trying to find integrative ways and pairing up Eastern and Western medicine and an integrative approach. So now it says that have done so, fellow in the Academy of Integrated Health and Medicine. How has that experience been?
It's been really great to be able to be part of fellowship training, to get to know other people, practitioners, physicians who are also interested in this integrative approach. And it's been, I really wish that we got more of this kind of education in traditional medical training, because there's so many great modalities out there. And there's more research coming out for these things, mind-body therapies, and all these other ways that we can work with the body to help it heal.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I think is so powerful about your message and about even us. We both love this process of self-care and using our care within ourselves to really not just heal, but to enhance a lot of aspects within our lives. So now you're using the integrative medicine approach and recognizing that within ourselves, we can heal. There's so much more that we can do that starts with self than we have ever imagined. It really doesn't really start as much on the outside as it can start with the inside. So now, you've done all this and then you've moved on to not just putting it together in just coaching, but you are an author. So what made you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to put this together in a book and let people recognize that they can feel so much better? Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I think that writing a book was something I wanted to do just recently. It's not like I had
It wasn't a dream
to be an author when I was like 4 years old. So I want to put that out there that, like at any point you can do anything. Okay? Like, don't ever feel like, oh, she wrote a book, I'm not an author, I can't do that. Like, don't write yourself out. I really want people to know that. And I think for me, what prompted the book was because I had been working with all these different clients and I kept like saying the same things over and over again. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be so helpful if I just like put it together in a book and like I could share it with people? And they would be able to get this introduction to this work and start the process themselves. I think a lot of times, there are a lot of people who are very self-motivated and disciplined, and they just need a little bit of support and tools and guidance. And so that's really why I wrote the book, so that, people can have this as a resource to really start this process and to try out some of these tools that are so helpful, and that knowing that it's a process, right? With self-care, with wellness, success, all of these things. But just getting started is like the first step, right?
What are some of the things? Because one of the approaches that I do love that you're doing is that there are some of us that are just high strung, high achievers, type A. If I work harder, then I'll get the result. If I don't get the results, I know what I can do. I can just keep working harder. But that might not always be the answer. So what are some of the tools that you can give us quickly? For some of us, I'm not pointing any fingers, who are just high achievers. Like you said, we're self-motivated, but we keep thinking that the answer is work harder.
Yeah, I think this is a very common sentiment, especially among physicians.
Yes.
I mean, just look at medical training and like how much work you have to put in to first even get into medical school, go through school, and then residency and all the things, right? And I think that a lot of times we think the answer is like, just work harder, right? put in more grit and like persevere. And I think that, yes, to some level, you know, like it is important to put in the time and the energy and the work, but also it's not at the expense of yourself.
Yes.
Right. And I think we see this so often where it's like, and also I think many people, we have to go through some type of like health trauma or journey to almost like get us to slow down.
Yes.
Right. And I think it's just important for people to hear this, that you don't have to get to that point, that breaking point, right? It starts with the little things. And so I like to remind people, I bring in a lot of mindfulness in my work because I think it really starts with awareness.
Yes.
And mindfulness is this practice of being in the present moment without judgment. And I think that judgment piece is so much easier said than done.
Yes.
We have this idea of how things should be, right? What's right, what's wrong, yes or no. It's very black or white.
Yes. The way how we do perceive things, it is very black or white. And therefore, it's either right or wrong.
Yeah.
Am I doing it right? I'm judging myself, so I must be doing it wrong.
I know. And I think that it's, you know, a big part of my own journey was really learning the skill of self-compassion.
Yes.
And I think, you know, I really, really encourage people to look into this practice because I think the reason we get so hard on ourselves is because we're not offering ourselves that compassion, right? And also what I've noticed is that as I've really learned to be more compassionate towards myself, this compassion actually extends out to everyone else also. And it has really brought a sense of inner peace in my life, which it's just been really amazing. And I really, really hope other people really get to experience this too.
Absolutely. So we have some comments here. Some people are saying hi. And Heather, you know, has mentioned, she says that we're working to help nursing students, not just with studying and test prep and skills, but wellness and time management. And mindfulness is a practice. Absolutely. It is a practice. We want them to be able to take these skills throughout school and into their career. Absolutely. You know, Heather, you are preaching my language. This is the same thing that we talk about, where it's so important that these skill set, it's not just set for the now. You can use these skill set from now and beyond, right? So once you get to work it, and the skill set transforms more than just healthcare. It's in all care, in the finance, in education. And I say all of this because we all deal with stress. So learning how to manage it, learning how to be self-compassionate, as you know, Dr. Tsai is saying, is just so important. And once you're giving yourself grace, wow, it opens up the doors for so much more, right? It brings a level of calm to you, and you're no longer thinking about what happened in the past. You're now looking forward to some positive things happening in the future. And like Dr. 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐚𝐢 saying, yes, without judgment. Yes. So that's so important for us to not judge each other. And we have a couple of our lady docs on. Hello, hello. Yes, Dr. Namani, yes, she said, go ladies, thank you for enlightening us. And then our wonderful friend, Dr. Diana Londonio. If you guys have not seen, so Dr. Cindy Tsai and I and Dr. Londonio, we are in a very, very happy video out there that's on social media. So we definitely want you guys to check that out. Alrighty, so, you know, it's important, as we're mentioning, for us to really keep in mind that mindfulness is really just taking and living in the present and being accepting of the present, right? So let's dig a little bit more, because I know that this is your jam, Dr. Tsai. Mindfulness is your jam. You love really talking about and helping people to understand mindfulness. So let's give them a little bit of a deeper understanding of ways that they can be mindful. And starting now, and just little things that they can use for today. And they can, of course, build upon it, because your book is definitely there to help them to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love the comments earlier about how mindfulness is a practice.
Yes.
And I think a couple things to keep in mind. So, people oftentimes think about meditation, right?
Mhm.
And I like to make the distinction that meditation is not the same as mindfulness.
Mhm.
Meditation is a way to practice mindfulness, but you can really be mindful doing anything.
Yes.
So you can be mindful doing when you're walking, when you're
Mhm.
eating, when you're
Mhm.
showering, when you're doing the dishes, like anything. It's just about that presence, right?
Mhm.
Of like actually being in the moment, really feeling what's going on, right? And noticing like what thoughts are you having? Are you actually replaying the past? Are you worrying about the future? Right? Then you're
Mhm.
not in the present moment.
Right.
So I always like to share that it's really more about that practice of being in the present moment and paying attention.
Mhm.
And one of the easiest ways to practice mindfulness is through breathing. And I think so often we forget to breathe.
Yes.
It's something we do all the time, right? Like automatically, but we're not often intentional about
Yes.
our breaths. And so one of my favorite breathing techniques is called the cleansing breath,
Mhm.
where you just take an inhale through the nose and you exhale through an open mouth sigh. Letting it all go.
Ooh, you already feel.
More calm.
Yeah, no, you feel it. You actually just, especially when you exhale and you bring everything down, you're relaxing. You can feel your heart rate going down. You
Yeah.
feel the weight of the mind. I can see how this helps with mindfulness because immediately, all the stress just
Hmm.
goes down. And
Yeah.
so imagine doing that for like what, a good 30, even 40 seconds.
Yeah, that was like 2 seconds, right? And I think a lot
Yeah.
of times people think about self care and they're like, oh, I'll do it later or whatever. And it's like, it's the little bits that count, right? Throughout your
Exactly.
day that adds up. And
Yeah.
I always like to remind people and think about like your phone, right? In the morning, it's charged up, it's full.
Hmm.
And as you go through your day, the battery kind of keeps draining. And
Absolutely.
the same thing for us as humans, right? And
Hmm.
that's why probably at the end of the day, patience is a little bit a lot lower, right? You like, your discipline's a lot less. You end up like reaching for cookies and like all it's scrolling social media, all of these things, right? And it's because
Absolutely.
your energy level is like so much lower. And why I think practicing mindfulness and all these self-care practices is key is because that way you can kind of stay at a really good level of energy and wellness. So you're
Yes.
never depleted.
It's really like a little recharge throughout the day.
Mhm.
It's really and I love the analogy of the cell phone. Why? Because we know that everyone is using the cell phone. So we can all relate that as you go throughout the day, your energy level depletes. So once you can do a quick little boost, think about it. When you're at the airport, what is everyone running towards? The They're all running and they're looking for that little charging port in order to boost their charge. Your cell phone's at 86, but oh, I just want to boost it up just in case, just in case. So these little techniques are your ways of boosting your charge to get you through the day so that you're not depleted. And then, as you mentioned, once you get recharged, your decision making is different, right? So if your goals are if you're doing, you want to eat healthier, then you're more likely to make better decisions because you're not depleted. And that happens for those of us who are in fast paced environments where you're going consistently. And at times, you probably don't get as much time to sit and to eat, other than you trying to make that time. Incorporating these little small techniques can really bring that level down and help you to make better decisions. So, like we said, this is not just for those of us in medicine. I think that this information transcends throughout all sectors. And that's one thing I really want to highlight. Alrighty, so we've done all those tips. You have the book So Much Better, and then you do have your coaching that you're doing. So tell us about when you decided to do the Dr. Cindy Tsai coaching.
Yeah. So I think for me, I had always been interested in self-help and self-development, reading
Mm-hmm.
books and all these things. I had been going to therapy for a while and really saw the value of therapy. And then
Mm-hmm.
a couple years back, learned about the field of coaching. And
Mm-hmm.
really through coaching, learned so many more tools and techniques that
Mm-hmm.
helped me learn how to manage my mind, to be
Mm-hmm.
calm, to be confident, and all these things. And really saw the value in this practice. And so I wanted to become a coach and to share this with other people too,
Yeah.
because I think so often we don't, we feel when we don't have like the tools and skills, we
Mm-hmm.
feel helpless and
Yes,
stuck. And
absolutely.
it really sucks to feel that way, when you're feeling like everything's happening to me, right? Nothing ever works out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think through coaching, I've really been able to integrate a lot of these practices and be able to share this with clients so that they can feel empowered in their
Mm-hmm.
life too. And I think the power of coaching is really, it's about really learning to start from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so often we think we have to change the outside, right? We're like, wanting a different job, right? Cars, like money, like all these things that are external to us. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the problem with that is we don't have control over those things, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's so important to really bring the focus to yourself, to be
Mm-hmm.
present, right? To really looking at what's going on and learning how to manage your mind and perspective so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. And there's this ripple effect that goes outward too.
Absolutely. Showing up as the best version of yourself, especially during a time when you felt so helpless, you felt as if nothing's going on, to really just get that ray of sunshine and a ray of hope that, begins to shine through. It really does transform a person. Confidence, their outlook on life. And like you said, the ripple effect goes, it moves not just from that individual, but it moves towards their surrounding, their family, and beyond. Because most people who are feeling better, and I mean, this is just like human nature. If you figured out a way that helps you, the first thing you're going to do is, I'm going to tell somebody, hey, look, this helps. And that's on the ripple effect of the coaching and learning these techniques, how powerful it is. Alrighty, so now that we've talked about all these other folks, Dr. Sai, we're going to talk about you. Alrighty, so what are you doing for self-care?
Yeah, well, I think that for self care, my routine and practice has continued to evolve over
Yes.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really one important thing to share and remember that, like, just because you liked doing this particular exercise doesn't mean it's going to continue to feel good to you or that you have to continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think a big part is giving myself permission to explore, to be open to all the different things that I enjoy, and
Mm-hmm.
also bring different practices. So for me, I definitely meditate on a regular basis. I
Mm-hmm.
like to spend time in nature, doing walks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A form of exercise, journaling, reflection, and things like that. So I think it really just also depends on the day, right? And kind of what's going on. But what's helpful is really having different tools and techniques to call on, right?
Yes.
It's like if you're feeling really drained and exhausted, what are you going to do in that place versus, right, like when you're feeling pretty good, right? There's like different things to try out and do. So I think it's just important to know that there's so many ways to do self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's different, so the things you need are different, and that's okay.
I
Yeah.
love it. And that's such an important value that we need to extend towards those who are listening and for those who are even new to self care. When you tell someone that you're practicing self care, one of the first thought process that goes on their mind, you're like, oh, so when are you going to the spa? Oh, really? Just let me know so I can show up with you. And the spa is a form of self-care for some, but it might not be for all, right? So we think about the self-care, as Dr. Tsai said, you try to have a couple tools in your arsenal so that you can go, because one of the practice of self-care and mindfulness and awareness is just recognizing that you're not going to be happy all the time. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're not jumping around being jolly, jolly giants. Like, well, I'm not a giant because I'm 5'1". But for those of you guys, I'm really short. But you're not jumping around being jolly, jolly all the time. But at the same time, if you are experiencing a period of your life where you're going through stress, you're looking around and you're recognizing that I want to come out of this, I don't want to spiral into something else, then recognizing having the tools for self-care is just so important. And self-care can be done in the moment. You have a couple seconds, as we just mentioned, where you can just do some breathing exercises, right? Those are like a quick way to just boost yourself up. And then you have a couple minutes when you're just like, okay, I'm doing a brain dump in a journal. I'm just letting it all out. Who got on my nerves? Why did they get on my nerves? And then I realized, like, wow, I really don't need to get that upset about it because I've let it all out. And now I can respond versus react. And then you have like the longer version of this, like, the exercise, the mindfulness, the meditation, all the way up until you do the spa and vacation.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we have different versions of self-care and it starts in different points, but that you can always incorporate all these tools. It doesn't really have to be that I can't wait until 5 weeks from now when I have my vacation. No, we can start it right now. Alrighty. Love, love, love. So now this is one of my favorite questions that I ask everybody. And I don't know if you did your research because I need to know. All right, Dr.
Okay.
So, okay, fun question. So if you weren't a doctor and an author, all right, what would you be? This is my fun question of the day.
Well, I love traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to be some type of travel critic or consultant, because then you kind of get to go all over,
Mm-hmm.
be a travel blogger or something.
Oh my gosh, you are just, yes. Wow. Okay, so my lovely friend across the pond, Dr. Adam Harrison, his answer to that question is that he would be a travel journalist. So I think you guys are in great company. I love it. I love it. Yes. So we have one more. We have Dr. Namani who's here. She says, journaling, something I haven't done in years. I used to love it. Thank you for the reminder. Absolutely. Hey, self-care is just so important. We love talking about self-care. We love the response that you get, not just to your mind, but your body and your spirit. It's just such an easy way for you to boost yourself. And we know it has its health benefits, emotional benefits. There's just so many benefits to this process. Alrighty, Dr. Cindy Tsai, so I thank you so much for spending this time with us here on the Dr. Tamara Beckford Show. Before I talk you out, let me know, do you have any last minute advice for those who are listening to this wonderful conversation?
Yeah, I think that something to remember is that if you haven't been doing any of these practices, it's gonna feel weird when you start. You're gonna feel like something's wrong, or or you might like do this one, like start taking a couple breaths and you're like, well, I don't feel any better, this sucks, right? And so
what are you talking about?
So I think it's really important to remember that this is a process, and that every little bit counts. And essentially what you're doing is you're rewiring your brain and your patterns. Right? And so everything is habit based. And so if you've been really stressed out, if you've been really overwhelmed and like type A and constantly going and going and going, and then when you first start to think about mindfulness and being present, it's going to feel really weird, it's going to feel like something's wrong.
Mhm.
And I just really want to remind people that it's actually normal, right? Because like every expert was a beginner, right? They started somewhere. So really, I would just encourage people not to get discouraged, right? If it feels odd, it's supposed to, okay? So make sure you kind of just like try things out, be open, and just know that it's a process and that you're going to be able to make it your own and feel so much better.
Absolutely. That is such a great advice because you are correct. You know, if this is not something that you have done before and you're starting out, it really is a process. And it's a process, as you mentioned, that rewires the brain. I think there's even a study that says like 17 hours of meditation and your brain like completely rewires. And you can see these documentations scientifically. So rewiring the mind to think, and if you really look at this process, right, if you have been thinking negatively for however many years you are, right? I think that maybe you could subtract maybe even 5 from that, because between 0 and 5, you're like, oh, the world is my oyster. Then you start to become more self-aware. And then if you've been having these negative mindset for 25, 30, 40 years, 2 days of trying to think positively and to rewire, it's not gonna happen immediately. It really is a process, and this process can be done in a shorter period of time than it took you to get to this negative state, in when we think of it relatively. So do not become discouraged. I love understand it's going to feel weird. Yes, if you've been using your right hand and I tell you now I want you to start using your left hand, at first it feels weird, but as you continue, you'll be able to do so. And then you can be ambidextrous. I love it, love it, love it. I love this. So thank you so much, Dr. Cindy Tsai, for stopping by the Dr. Tamara Beckwith Show and dropping so many gems about self-care, about your wonderful book. Show us the book again. Show us
Right
this wonderful
here.
book. It's right here. It's called So Much Better. But I don't think the book comes with my singing, so you guys are okay.
Well,
Yes.
I'm probably gonna do an audiobook, and so that'd be so funny if I should include
Oh my gosh, at the beginning of the audiobook. And like Dr. Namani said, yes, grace, grace, grace. Let's give ourselves grace at the beginning of this process. Give yourself grace as you're trying to change anything within your life. You know, give yourself grace during those beginning phases, because it's a process. It took a while for you to get to that stage. It's going to take a while for you to get from that stage to that new beyond. So as I said, I cannot thank you enough for stopping by the show. I hope you had as wonderful a time as I did. Thank you all who are in the comments and keeping it going. Yes, if you do want Dr. Cindy Tsai's, there is the link to the book that Dr. Landano has posted up in the link if you guys would like to get a copy of her book. Yes, and like I said before, I am honored. You know, at the Dr. Tamara Beckwith Show, I get to highlight all my wonderful, wonderful docs who are doing amazing things inside and outside of clinical medicine. So if you are one of those docs and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to get on the show, don't worry. Just send an email to Dr. Beckwith at yourcaringdocs.com and book. Yes, just send me an email that says, hey, I want to get on the show, and then we'll send you the link. Do keep in mind, like I said, we are booked out 3 months in advance consistently, but that's because there are just so many great doctors out there. Like, you know, that's why we are booked out. So thank you so much for joining me. This wonderful episode will be available on our website, right? So just go to yourcaringdocs.com. That's yourcaringdocs.com. Select podcast. You'll see Dr. Tsai Cindy Tsai's beautiful, beautiful face, and just click the listen here. And don't forget to leave her a comment. For those of you guys with an Apple device, leave her a comment. Let her know how wonderful you thought this was. I know that she dropped a lot of gems, and I know that you will enjoy all of this wonderful episode. For those of you guys who are in the chat, thank you so much for joining me. For those of you guys who are listening now, and for those of you guys who will be listening in the future, thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dr. Tamara Beckwith Show so we can continue to spread the love out there. All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day. Bye.